The following is a complete full body stretching routine that I like to incorporate to help develop flexibility for b-boying and other various activities. Alright, before we get started stretching, it's good to be completely warmed up. Usually doing some light cardiovascular exercise before stretching is a good idea. This can be a light jog, some top rock, some wiggling, shaking, whatever you want to do, just keep it light. And make sure it's about 10 to 15 minutes. You can also choose to incorporate this stretching routine at the very end of your workout to ensure you're fully warmed up. But just remember, keep it about 10 to 15 minutes of, general warming up before you stretch. Judge yourself, make sure you feel loose, good enough to prevent injury. Alright, now that we're all warmed up, we're ready to begin stretching. I'm going to start with the upper extremities, move to the lower extremities, and then the core, but you can do it in whatever order you like, or best fits your routine. I like to start out my upper body stretching with gentle arm circles, and then I gradually increase the radius of the arm circles. It almost acts as an extension of the warm-up, but as you increase the radius of the arm circles, you'll start to stretch out various muscles, tendons, and ligaments in the rotary cuff, and etc. around the shoulder, which can be a problem area for a lot of people. So I like to start out with this one. I'll normally do this for about 20 to 30 seconds, then shake it off and move on to the next stretch. After the arm circles, I like to do complete head circles. This helps stretch out all the tendons and ligaments that hold up your head and that keep your head on your body. Face forward and then roll your head around in circles as so. I do about 10 each way, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on how warmed up I am. But for time purposes in this video, I'm just going to keep the examples shorter. The next stretch I like to do helps work on the front of the arm flexibility, including the bicep and the pectoral muscles. Also kind of helps, with the reverse concavity of your thorax or whatever you want to say. Basically all I do is go up to a wall, choose one hand, you put it on the wall, and you pull away with your upper body in the opposite direction, feeling the stretch in your pectorals, which is, your boob. Feel the stretch in your boob. Also try and feel the stretch in your bicep as well. Be sure to take your time, don't pull too hard at first, work up to it, and breathe. Also remember to do both sides. I hold each of these for about 15 to 20 seconds. Alright, after stretching out the front of the arm and the pectorals, I like to stretch out the back of the arm and the back. Basically for this one, I like to put one arm out in front of me, my palm facing towards me, but then I put it to my side and I take my other arm and I put it underneath and gently pull my arm towards me, feeling the stretch in my shoulder on the back side and slightly in my back and a little bit in my tricep. I like to hold this for about 10 to 20 seconds aside. I really like this next stretch. It's not really popular, but I really like the feel and I really like the looseness it gives me in my back. Basically what I do is I squat down and I grab the opposite knee with the opposite arm and I pull my knee away from me and I feel my arm lightly stretching out and I feel my back lightly stretching out as well. It really helps loosen up my back for me and makes me feel good in my upper back. I really like this stretch, even though it really isn't that popular. I hold these for about 10 to 20 seconds aside as well. Alright, this next stretch is some additional tricep stretching. Wow, just wow there. Basically what we're going to do is take our hand and you're going to put it on your back with your knuckles touching your back, and then you're going to take your other hand and you're going to try and reach and touch the fingers. You're going to try and reach and touch your fingers together, okay? ET phone home it, alright? Okay, and if you can, you want to lock your fingers together and feel the stretch in your arms. Remember not to stretch to pain, relax, let your muscles relax, and breathe. I hold this for about 10 to 20 seconds each side. Alright, now that most of the major muscles, tendons, and joints are all stretched out and warmed up in the arms, I'd like to move on to a really critical point, the wrists. Alright, the wrists are really important in my opinion to stretch out, especially regarding activities such as b-boying when you're on your hands a lot. So I like to stretch out my wrists quite a few ways to ensure elasticity and prevent injury. First stretch I like to do is simple. You put your hand out in front of you as so, and then you take your other hand, put it around the front, including the thumb, and you pull back slightly. And I like to hold this for about 10 to 20 seconds each side, feeling the stretch in the forearm and in the wrists. And then I like to do the same stretch but this time I like to flip my palm upside down and pull from the bottom. I hold this for about 10 to 20 seconds as well on each side. Alright, this next stretch I really like for the wrist. Basically, you put your palm out, facing you, and then you take your other hand, you wrap it around, grab the thumb, and then pull down. And you can gradually pull up and down. Don't jerk it up and down, but just lightly up and down. Slightly like a dynamic stretch. I do about 10 pull downs per each side. Another stretch I like is pulling the wrist from the opposite side towards you, getting a stretch on the opposite side of the forearm and the wrist. I hold this for about 10 to 20 seconds each side. This next wrist stretch involves using the ground. Basically, you get down on your knees and you put your fingers facing towards you, so you flip your arms around, and then you push down and straighten out your arm, stretching out your forearm and all the tendons in your wrists. I'll hold this for about 10 to 20 seconds. This next stretch is great for b-boying, but I like to do it when my upper body is actually fully stretched out, so I like to do it at the end of fully stretching out my upper body because it pretty much involves everything. It's basically the Airchair Stretch or the side chair stretch. You put your arm out to the side as so, and then you get up against the wall, and then you place your palm on the wall and lightly pull away with the rest of your upper body. Kind of like in an air chair on the wall and like feeling the stretch. Alright, after stretching the upper extremities, I like to move to the lower extremities, but once again, it doesn't matter which order you do them in. So the first stretch I like to do for my lower body is basically the Papa squat, like you're gonna take a dump in the woods. You basically you stand with your legs apart and then you squat down as so. And you're gonna feel the stretch in a lot of various muscles in the legs, and I feel like for me it's a good preparation for the future stretches that we're gonna do in just a second. Hold this for about 10 to 20 seconds. Alright, this next stretch is gonna be basically sitting down with your legs out in front of you straight, and you're gonna reach and try and touch your toes. It's gonna help stretch out your lower back as well as your hamstrings and other various muscles in your legs. If you can't touch your toes, don't worry about it. Just try and touch it and feel a light stretch, but nothing too painful, okay? And I hold this for about 10 to 20 seconds. And if you would like, you can choose to put one arm out on each side instead of both arms out at the same time. But for efficiency, I like to do both arms at once. Alright, this next stretch I like to refer to as the ultimate flare stretch because in my opinion, it's like the best stretch for flares if you could choose one stretch to do. Basically, it's the wide leg stretch, okay? So you're going to sit down and you're going to spread your legs as far apart as you can go without causing any pain. And then you're going to take your arm towards that leg and you're going to reach for the toe. And then with the opposite arm, you're going to reach over your body and try and meet up with your other arm, okay? And if, it doesn't work out too good at first, it's okay. Just work on it and go easy. But by reaching over with the other arm, you're stretching out some of the core as well, which I also find very beneficial for the flare. I will reach towards one side for about 20 to 30 seconds, and then I will move to the middle, reaching forward for about 20 to 30 seconds, and then I will move to the opposite side, reaching there for about 20 to 30 seconds. Alright, now we're going to stretch out the front of the leg, including the quadriceps and some of the hip flexors. Okay, this first stretch is called the runner stretch. Basically, you're going to find a wall, place your hand on to keep balance, and then you're going to grab your foot and you're going to pull back on your leg, and you're going to feel the stretch in the front of the leg and a little bit in the front of the hip as well. This is kind of controversial, though some people will claim that this hurts their knees. However, I've never had any problem myself. Just be sure you're warmed up and don't pull too hard at first. I do each side for about 10 to 20 seconds. Another way to stretch out the front of the legs is basically get down on your knees with your feet touching and then lean back, putting your hands on the ground and trying to feel the stretch in the front of the legs or the quadriceps and maybe a little bit in the hip flexors. Alright, basically if you want to get a little freaky deaky now and take it to the next level, there's a yoga position where I don't recommend this for beginners, but what you do is you place your legs to the side as so. Basically you further immerse into this position and you try and lay your back flat down on the ground, and it is uncomfortable, especially if you're not flexible. If you're a beginner, I don't recommend doing this. I recommend working on your flexibility until you can work up to this one, but this will really stretch out your quads and your back, and It's interesting, but don't do it, unless you're a freak, unless you're already flexible enough. All right, this next stretch is for the hip flexors primarily. Basically, what you're gonna do is you're gonna get in a lunge position as so, and you're gonna try and straighten out the leg behind you, and you're gonna squeeze forward, feeling a light tension in basically your hip. And you're gonna hold this for about 10 to 20 seconds or so on each side. This helps stretch out the hip flexors and prevents various groin injuries. Alright, this next stretch is called the butterfly stretch. You basically squat down back into the papa squat position, but this time you sit on your butt and you have your feet in front of you as so. Put your feet together, grab them with your hands, and lean slightly forward. You'll feel a stretch in your lower back and in the inner groin area. It's a great stretch, feels great, helps loosen everything out. Hold this for about 20 seconds. Alright, now we're going to focus on your butt muscle, or the glutes, or the gluteus maximus. Basically, you're going to sit down with your legs in front of you, you're going to take one leg, you're going to cross it over the other, and then you're going to pull on it with your opposite arm. You can pull on it with your other arm as well. And feel the stretch kind of like on the side of your butt cheek. I really like the stretch. It feels good to me, maybe because my butt's so big. But I hold this for about 20 seconds each side. Now we're going to focus on stretching out your calf and your Achilles tendon, which I think is a very critical point in the bottom of the leg. Basically, what you're going to need is something flat like a wall, or this table that I'm going to use here. What you're going to do is you're going to put your foot up against it, and then you're going to lean forward, feeling the stretch in the back of your lower leg and on your tendon. Go slow and hold this one. Make sure your tendon's warmed up, so have a good warm up. And hold this for about 20 seconds on each leg. Alright, now we're going to start to focus on stretching some of the core muscles, but we're also going to be incorporating some of the shin muscles as well as the calf and still the Achilles tendon as well in this next combination move here. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to lay down on your stomach, and then you're going to push up with your hands as so. This will really stretch out your front abdominals, the front part of your core. Be sure to have your toes pointed to also be stretching out your shins. And then you're going to switch so that your toes are touching the ground, and you're going to push off, and you're going to straighten out your back, and you're going to feel the stretch down your legs, down your calves, and this is called the downward dog position in yoga. And I hold each of these phases for about 30 seconds each. You can actually do combos and move in and out of this and variate it so it works for you. Now to stretch out the other side of the core, we're going to move from this forward arch, and we're going to pull ourselves back, leaning forward with our hands out in front of us. And this also in yoga is called the child's pose, depending on where you hear it from. And then I hold this for about 20 to 30 seconds. Also notice how my toes are pointed, stretching my shins some more, because we stretched our calves a lot previously. Okay, now if you don't think the wide leg stretch stretched out enough of your side core, you can do these side reaches if you like. Basically, stand up straight, take one arm and reach over to the side, and I hold this for about 10 seconds to each side, just stretching out the side of the core, the whole side of the body pretty much actually. Alright, now we're going to do some more core stretches on the ground. For this one, sometimes it's a good idea to start with a couple of rolls just to get the fluid equalized, or whatever you want to say, in the spine. And then straighten your legs and roll back and bring your legs close to your face. Yeah. I hold this for about 30 seconds. And then from here, I slowly unravel, flatten out, relax, breathe, and let everything unwind. And let all the energy, fluid, whatever you want to say, just equalize, I like to call it. From here, the next stretch I like to do is the bridge stretch. It's a little bit more advanced, and beginners might not get this at first. A good progression is the one where we're on our stomach and we push up with our arms. For the bridge stretch, what you want to do is you want to place your palms on the ground with your fingers pointing towards your feet, as so. Put your feet down and then push off, lifting up in the air, forming an arch with your back. It stretches out the front of the core, the hip flexors, really develops flexibility in the spine. It's a great overall flexibility move. The further you have your hands from your feet, the less difficult it is, so it's good to start out with less of an arch and then bring in closer as you get more advanced. I hold this for about 20 seconds. Alright, now from the bridge stretch, since it's such a dramatic move, I like to end by rolling into a ball and kind of lightly stretching the opposite side, even though we did that before, but just kind of equalizing everything like I say. And then from here, you want to slowly sit up, letting the blood flow come in easily. And also you want to breathe, and then I'll do some light shaking just because I like to shake it off at the end of my stretching routine. And then basically if I feel anything's tight, I'll stretch it a little bit more, but usually it's not. So in conclusion, this is a complete stretching routine that I have used over the years and slightly adjusted here and there. So yeah, feel free to customize it to your needs. You make it work for you, do what works best. And with that being said, I really hope this tutorial helped you guys out. Thanks a lot, thanks for watching, and remember, don't forget to subscribe to Pygmy123. You'll make me really happy. Thanks, peace, have a good one.